Alright, so hello. Everybody, my name is William. Okay. And now today I'm going to talk about the Cooper-Davis Act. Alright. Now, what is that? Well, I don't know much about it. I think nobody else has been talking about it, so I guess I will be talking about it right now. But yeah, the Cooper-Davis Act, it opens the door for increased surveillance, for misuse and damages encryption, and ensures digital security online. That's basically what it is. Well, I don't know the name, and if you want to know of the House bills. Okay, so there's two of them. I have to get to them. So there's two Cooper-Davis bills. Yeah. Yeah, House Bill 4518 and Senate Bill 1316. So I'll show you Okay, so HR 4518 is called Cooper-Davis and Divinoring Act. It got introduced on July of last year. I just couldn't show it to you because it was just attention required, that's why. But I'll show it to you from my phone. Okay. And then it says, no summary though. But if you look at the text of the bill, you can read right there, so you can, yeah, read that bill. And now we're also going to talk about, yeah, S 2316, the Senate bill. It got introduced in July of last year. So here it is. I'm just trying to show it to you from my phone anyway. And then you can read the text of the bill too. I'll show you. Unless you can see it. But that's the name of the bill right there. You can read it all you want. Well, you read it to yourself, I mean, anyway. Well, yeah. We need to call our local representatives about this and ask them to vote no on this. Because I don't like this. You know, I hate this bill too. Yeah, but what is the Cooper-Davis Act? Well, right here. Does Defend Encryption say no to Cooper-Davis? Okay, let's read about that then. Well, here, it says right here. You can read this right here. Let's read this. On your letter, it says right here. Oppose Cooper-Davis Act and any other attempts to weaken and encryption, like the Earn-It Act, and stop SAM. Surveillance is not the answer to a public health crisis. Protect end-to-end encryption and secure messaging with strong privacy legislation. Right, we need privacy laws for encryption, right? Yes. Not not laws that will invade our privacy, that will ruin encryption. So defend encryption, say no to Cooper Davis. Well, let's read about that. So before that, so Cooper Davis says it opens the door, increased surveillance messages, damages encryption, ensures digital security online. And also, if you read more about it right here, it says here, the Cooper Davis Act has been guided to attempt to address the public health crisis caused by fentanyl. In many cases, in the U.S. and the bill does not and the bill does more harm than good. Open the door, increase surveillance, and messaging damaging encryption, ensures digital security online. Another Earn It Act copycat bill, more surveillance, and will not solve public health crisis, and encryption and public safety threat. Secure messaging protects people privacy and should be protected. Now, if you know what fentanyl is, fentanyl is a drug from China. You know that's why. But the Cooper Davis Act is not the answer to stop people from taking a Chinese drug called fentanyl. You know that's why. So, no, let me just say, this is not the way to stop people from taking this kind of Chinese drug called fentanyl. I don't know why. I don't know why the U.S. is thinking about doing this. Now, I know I get that China is a dictatorship, but we don't need authoritarian bills to stop people from taking this kind of Chinese drug called fentanyl. Anyway. Let's just read this anyway. Here, it says a new bill making its way to Congress to provide impact encryption and to advance to address a public health crisis and fentanyl, pending currently putting communities in the U.S. industry that does more harm than good. Open the door into the surveillance, preventing damaging encryption and ensures digital security online. The Cooper Davis Act would be privacy number requiring online surveil the users to collect your data, keeping that information, enforcement users, and who appear on trafficking drugs without informing who their information could be used. Sign the petition, tell your lawmakers to oppose the Cooper Davis Act, and attempts of the encryption like Earn It and stop CSM surveillance is not the answer to protect your encryption and secure messaging and strong privacy legislation. Okay, I mean, you all know that fentanyl is a drug from China, so it's a Chinese drug. But look, if you were gonna get people to stop taking, dangerous drugs that are from China, the Cooper Davis Act is not the answer. No. And I don't know why our lawmakers are doing this. That's why. That's not the answer. And I know I know that China's a dictatorship. I hate dictator Xi Jinping. But let me tell you something. The Cooper Davis Act we're getting here in the U.S. isn't the answer. It's just going to make things worse for the U.S. But yeah, the Cooper Davis Act is going to make things worse for the U.S. And that's why. We don't need this. We need people to... we need privacy laws for encryption, but also we also need to find other ways to skip. We need people to stop taking drugs, including Chinese, including the Chinese drugs, including the Chinese ones. That's why, which will include fentanyl as well. And I guess that's all of it here. Well, so I guess I don't have nothing else to say about Cooper Davis, but yeah. And now, and I heard that Carter Mayo was making a 26 in 2026 campaign. Let's read about that. So it's an eventful program that turns out of the public voter turnout of the 2026 targeted seats of the California 480 2026 midterm election. Research of the political programs of the personal content of the 10 is more effective than TV ads of the preceding and one. Return their ballot in two is turned a certain way. That's why California has created an inventive program, engage voters in 2026 midterm election using personal context. We had letters say easy to use voter guides and consider door of the events. Many California 26 boosting turnout. Turnout is midterm elections drop in personal election going from 16% turnout in 2024 expected 35 to 45% turnout. Region and state which wherever the political party boosts the turnout on their side gain an advantage. Alright, so this program has a clear goal: turn out 700,000 law prosperity voters statewide would not have originally voted in midterm election. More importantly, they concentrate the turnout in 26 target seats, producing 15 to 25,000 more votes, endorsed candidate, and each target strict. Meets 26 voters at their door. We are recruiting 26,000 volunteers statewide. A specific list provide low prosperity in their neighborhood. Target seat. Almost everyone lives the target seat with a 30 and 60-minute drive for one. You will drive those homes and not walk, since skipping most of the homes, going to Pacific ones of the low prosperity ones. You will knock and leave the door hanger at homes and don't answer. You need to continue the doors that you were back and be this door and complete 26 actual person-to-person conversations. While leave the door, it's okay, but works the personal contract that is counting. If you send a program, repeats continuation of the 26 conversations at the door. And here's task 2. What is a ballot harvest event? We need volunteers to get help of the barbecue beer events in October 2026. Version of ballot harvesting. Make it fun, easy, secure, and covering voter guide of the endorsed candidates. If you sign up for the program, please feel free to firm and organize your own event, and it should not events continues over these events. Now, text to continue. Reform California needs financial support to execute this entire campaign plan, earning financial support and many valuable and late support. And your fundraising milestones to stakes and secure matching funds and coalition partners. That's what it says right there, anyway. And then also, I also heard about this one. So California Democrats want to count ballots without postmarks. That's what it says right here. Demolishes the Secretary of State election of the vice president without postmarks. Direct violation of Supreme Court ruling. The court sees member Carter Mayo today sent a letter to California Secretary of State Shirley Wilbur, demonstrating of the office Supreme Court ruling of the ballots today. Carter Mayo was election to count election day without postmarks. Christy Weber, variation country of ballots would be counting up the election day no postmark, and the server record. Okay, the service record over they were mailed. We'll then get up the ballot for the election day for everyone. Otherwise, it indicates so. The Supreme Court created the ballots of the postmarks to be counted, and yet California politicians like Shirley Weber of the postmarks of the date and scribbled of the known person. It's back in the Supreme Court ruling and avoids fraud. DeMille says. Weber's atrocity is separated the Supreme Court's recent ruling, and states only count ballots after election day ballots of the postmarked by election day. So was her win, DeMille adds, of the entire decision of the ballots of the election day of the system rule can for substantially ballot. DeMille demanding Weber reverse regulation before officials begin November ballots and on the October to the first statewide election since the court's ruling. Yeah, I don't like that either. I think the ballots without postmarks need to get rejected. That's my answer. You can get from me anyway. But anyway, it's just not good. And then anyway, and I also made a YouTube post, if you want to know, about right here about Xavier Sir. Yeah, because he will blame Donald Trump and on the coverage disasters, just like Gavin Newsom did. Even though the Democrats did the disasters, not Donald Trump, anyways. That's why I put anyway. I heard that Gloria Merrill said she was a Democrat. Well, well, yeah, okay. So let me talk. So there's also the lieutenant governor. Okay. So the guy. Okay, let's talk about the one who is running for lieutenant governor. I'm talking about. Talk about Gloria Romero, which is yeah. This woman here, Gloria Romero, for lieutenant governor, right? That's who I'm voting for lieutenant governor. That's read about Gloria Romero. All right, so Gloria Romero said she was a Democrat, and then now she just changed to a Republican. Well, that's read about that anyway. Okay, so right here, so the former California State Majority Leader, Gloria Romero, changed her party registration from Democrat to Republican in September 4, 2024. So it's very recent when he changed it, when she changed sides anyway. And she made a formal announcement doing the press outside of California, state capital in Sacramento, and signing disagreements on the Democratic direction and issues of school choice and crime and public policy. So you can also read about her. You can also read about her on Wikipedia right here about Gloria Romero. So. Okay, she's running. Okay, so she's running against Fiona Ma. Okay, and Fiona Ma is another yeah. So Fiona Ma is another Democrat. Yeah, and yes, I do believe that Fiona Ma will cause probably more disasters to California too. You can read, we can read it right here. So that's why. You know, that's why, because, you know, well, I know that Fiona Ma is wicked, that's why. Well, I just heard about, you can read about right here anyway. So that's why I think we need to vote for Gloria Romero for him, Lieutenant Governor, and not Fiona Ma. That's why. You know, that's what I'm just saying anyway. But you're asking me, right? Who are these people I'm voting for federal representative? You know Mark Cargyle? Well, I'll show you. Mark Cargyle. No, I want all. Okay, so here it is. He's part of the Republican Party, and yeah, he was a member. Yeah, so he was the California. Yeah, see, he's California member of House elections, so that's why. So the previous campaigns was House of Representative elections in California. That's why. He's trying to win the House of the federal representatives in Congress in California, and yeah, he's running against Norma Torres. That's why. So that's why I'm voting for him. That's why I'm voting for him, anyways. I think he'll be a great federal representative than Norma Torres, anyway. And if you want to know what Norma Torres looks like, you can read her Wikipedia page right here. You know that's why. I don't need to describe her to you anyway. That's why. So that's why I'm voting for Mark Cargyle. Anyway. And now, that's read about, and then now, there's also, yes, I'm voting for Rafael Romero to replace Michelle Rodriguez. Right here, it says right here. Lower cost living, quality education, and election integrity. That's why. You know, what else it could be? And if you want to know, that's why. Oh, that's just a... Yeah, I know, should be in District 3, yeah, that's why. Against the Michelle Rodriguez, yeah. Even though Michelle Rodriguez got more votes than Rafael Romero, yeah. So I don't know which one will win this November, but yeah, Rafael Romero is the person I'm voting for anyway. Because the Democrats, you know, well... Well, you can read about politician. You can read about Michelle just here on Wikipedia. I don't need to describe it to you anyway. and then let's skip it to, and here's Mike Nitter. So Mike Nitter, right here. I know, and Susan Rubio has more votes than Mike Nitter but this is in the primary. I know. I don't know what's going to happen in this November anyway. Yeah, the problem is I don't know when they're going to get the Democrats to stop voting Democrat and start voting Republican anyway. That's the problem. But hopefully all we can try to do is vote and get my friends and get my neighbors to vote too. That's why. Because if you want to know about Susan Rubio, you can read about her on Wikipedia. Right here, I only need to describe it to you anyway. But I'm showing you politicians in my area, so that's why. And who I am voting for, that's why. So yeah, Mark Hargile, Rafael Romero, and Mike Nitter are the people I'm voting for in my area for the election this November, even though I don't know if they will win this November because I don't have an answer for everything. I don't know, because I don't have an answer for everything. I'm just saying, those people I'm voting for this November anyway. I think it'll be a lot better representatives at least for me anyway, than the ones I'm having right now anyway. You know. I've been calling Michelle Rodriguez and Susan Rubio this year because people have been telling me, because people have been saying on YouTube to call your local representatives, which is something I did starting this year because I didn't do it last year or years before that. That's why. Because because you know why? Well, because I didn't know I was supposed to call them. That's why. I didn't know that I needed to call them. That's why. Against unconstitutional bills. That's why. That's why. And hopefully you guys can learn to call your local representatives too. That's why. And not, if you're late for constitutional bills like I am, well, hopefully you can learn not to be late for them. I'm learning my lesson, you can learn yours too. That's why. And I'm showing you that except for several blame Donald Trump on California's disasters, like Gavin Newsom did. And look, and even though did the New York City disasters and not Donald Trump. That's what it says anyway. That's what I put anyway. I put it's all Trump's fault. That's what it says anyway. So yeah, and get your local representatives, even if they're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter which party, just get them to vote no on the Cooper-Davis Act. Please. No matter what party they're on, just call them and ask them to vote no on the Cooper-Davis Act. Because this bill is very unconstitutional and it needs to die. Anyways, that's why. Alright, and in my next video, we'll be talking about age gating bills. Well, I'll talk about that next video anyway. Yeah, so age gain bills I'll be talking about next video. Because I have to go right now. I have school to go to pretty soon, and I have to get ready to go to school right now. Well, to study for my GED, that's why. So I'll go ahead and study for that because I have to go right. Yeah, I'll go ahead and study for that, and I have to go because that's why I have to go right now. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Say goodbye. Adios. Zaijian.